Okay, I'm back. This is where we left off the last video. To continue on, one amalgam can be as bad as 10 for some people. One is too many to keep in a mouth. I'm arbitrarily picking 10. One can be as bad as 3, you know. Um, so it isn't so much that how many you have in your mouth. It's how it's affecting you and how your detox pathways are working, and whether or not you're have certain genetic issues that make detoxing mercury very difficult. So we're all different. Some have a mouthful of amalgam and they seem to be fine. Others have one and they're sick. My comment about the people that think they're fine that you'll run into, and we have a difficult time with this because people say, well, I got a mouthful of them, there's nothing wrong with me. And I say, well, but are they really fine? If you start talking to them, you find out that they got digestive troubles, they got headaches, they take pills for this, they're diabetic, hypoglycemic, on and on and on. They have all these health issues, but they never connected it to the fact that it could be from their amalgams. So they say they're fine. Okay. The other thing is, in later years, we end up getting diseases. And my chelation doctor, first guy that figured things out for me, felt that low-level heavy metals over time was worse than acute levels. Okay, it's the low levels that damage DNA and do other things like that. Number 9, many diseases have the same symptoms as mercury and toxicity, and it's very easy for your doctor to misdiagnose. The other thing is, most doctors, at least right now that I'm aware of, don't have a box that says mercury toxicity to check off and say that's what your diagnosis is. So they tend to have to match your symptoms up with something else that matches the symptoms that the system believes matches the symptoms. Okay, so be careful you don't walk out of your doctor office with a diagnosis that's maybe incorrect. Okay, if we don't get to the root cause, we won't ever get well. I'm aware of people who have reversed MS-type symptoms with amalgam removal. I had MS-type symptoms, and they're gone now. I won't get into all the details right now, but I've talked to people with MS. I've talked to people whose sister had MS, and my friend said, you sound like you got MS. So I never went and got diagnosed because I already knew it was mercury and heavy metals. That's what happens to most of us. We don't know what's wrong with us, and we keep going to doctors trying to get answers. And depending on who figures things out for you, you're either going to find out the reality that you got heavy metals, or you're going to get diagnosed with something else and think that's what's wrong with you. And then somebody like me comes along and tries to say, well, do you have any amalgams in your mouth? And you say yes, and I say, well, that's probably causing all your issues. And you look at me like, can't be. I got diagnosed with this and that and the other thing. So you really don't want to get too far in your life with multiple diagnoses of different things that all could be from toxicity. Okay? Look for root cause. That's my key thing. Long-term metals, in my opinion, leads to cancer. Metals in us is like an environment for bacteria, viruses, fungal stuff to grow. I have friends who believe cancer is fungal. You can do your own research on that. I'm just throwing it out there. And think about all the people that are heavy metal toxic that don't know it and have amalgams in their mouth, and they end up with cancers and stuff like that. So kind of makes sense. Thiol intolerance I put up there because a lot of people are thiol intolerant. It's a intolerance to sulfur-based foods. Our body's natural detox is glutathione, which is a sulfur-based type thing. And when we eat foods that are sulfur-based, they bond to the metals in us, and they move around inside of us, and they cause redistribution. And redistribution is the thing to try to not have happen. Makes us feel really bad and causes symptoms that make us feel crappy. Um, so now getting into my symptoms, and this is no order. This is just things that came to mind. I might have duplicated one here and there. There's like a big long list, and to be honest, it's kind of hard to go back and forth. And I try to include as much as I can so I don't forget something. And then at the same token, I might put something in there twice because there's two ways of looking at some of this stuff. My main point in yellow here is like literally everything I'm going to describe now got it reversed with removing amalgams and detoxing. So for me, that was my proof that the root cause of most of my issues was related to the amalgams and the heavy metals and the mercury that was in there. I had about 12 metals total, by the way. So I started with symptoms. Again, there's no order to this. Started with physical symptoms. And some of these might cross. You might say it's not really physical, but again, I didn't want to beat it to death. I just wanted to get this video out one way or the other. So one thing about the redistribution I want to talk about here is at times each day you might have different symptoms as the day went on. Okay, redistribution moves the metals around. It causes the symptoms to kind of change. So that's the weird thing about this. You might feel one way in the morning, another way in the afternoon. You might feel something else later in the day. It's all in the levels in you, how much is leaching out of your amalgams, how much your body's fighting it, whether or not your MTHFR and whether or not your detox pathways are handling things. And it's very confusing when all these symptoms seem to be like randomly changing and you can't quite put your finger on what in the world is going on. So I just want to mention that. Being oxygen starved is a symptom, kind of short of breath, out of breath. Again, you can think of all the things that your doctor may tell you could be wrong or send you for getting your heart checked out. You definitely want to do all those things that your doctor does to rule out everything, but if all the tests come back like negative and you haven't found what's wrong, then, here you go. It could be from this kind of thing. I already talked about thiol intolerance, which for me went away as a detox pretty quickly. Having weakness in my legs and even intermittent weakness can be a symptom. Your face can be kind of droopy. You could feel fatigued and stressed all the time. And when I say droopy, I mean literally like droopy. Okay. I threw Bell's palsy in there because I know people have had that kind of nerve issue, and I would say symptoms like that at times. And again, it's gone now. So looseness of teeth is a mercury thing. Loss of teeth. I know people who completely lost all of their teeth. Gingivitis, bleeding gums, all symptoms. Headaches of any kind, migraines, ocular migraines. And this one here, the band around the head, pressure headache, it's like a classic mercury symptom. Okay, so if you kind of have that feeling like there's a band around your head, like literally something around, from front to back, tightening on your head, that's a mercury thing. Feeling of like an electrical short in your brain, like a cauterizing feeling, is a symptom. Sciatica is a symptom. I had really bad sciatica, and as I detoxed, it went away. And honestly, since I've been detoxed, I've never had sciatica again. Kind of same with body aches, back aches, joint aches. All of those are metals related. I don't have any aches hardly at all right now. Really none when you think about it. Again, when I was around 30, I could barely move, and I'm double that age now in detox, and I don't feel hardly anything. Sinus trouble, chronic sinus, chronic ear infections, all are related to mercury. Mercury tends to settle in your ears for some reason. If you think about it, it's in your teeth, and it probably leaches out through your skin there and finds its way into sinuses and ears. I mean, think about it. Just physical close proximity. Sensitive to light. can't go out in the sun, don't like going out in the sun. Sensitive to fluorescent lights, can't stand the flickering. The flickering drives you crazy. Food allergies of all kinds. Okay. All skin diseases and issues. Eczema, HS. My daughter has this hidradenitis suppurativa. I might have spelled that wrong. Really crappy skin disease where you kind of get these boils. To me, it could very well be toxicity coming out your skin, trying to come out your skin. When your liver gets bombarded, your skin takes over. It's another way to detox. So I'll be touching on little things like that as we talk, things to think about. Muscle twitches in your arm, your legs, your eyelids. It could come and go. It could be there all day long, drive you crazy. There's something called restless leg syndrome, where you kind of feel your leg moving and shaking. Numbness feelings, different spots in your body. I'll talk about something later, but I'll mention it right now. I mean, there were times when I would feel like my limbs felt even detached from my body kind of feeling. Very weird feeling. Cysts. I had them on my head. I had to have them removed. I believe that's toxicity coming out of us. The system will call them something else. All kinds of digestive discomfort. All the common stomach and digestive issues or diseases. Diverticulitis, or irritable bowel syndromes, SIBO is something new that I'm actually dealing with right now. Could be a long-term damage kind of situation, which is why I stress getting this stuff taken care of when you're younger, as soon as you can. I had 40 plus years of this, and nobody knows the long-term effects. We're writing the book on all this right now, right? Crohn's. I think I spelled that right. Oop. And there's many more. Tinnitus, vertigo, TMJ. I went to a doctor because I had vertigo, tinnitus, whatever. Doctor thought I had TMJ. It was around the time I was figuring all this out, and I never pursued that with the doctor. I pursued getting my amalgams out and detoxing, and all this stuff here went away very quickly. The vertigo went away pretty quick. The ringing in my ears went away pretty quick after the amalgams were removed. Being sensitive to loud noise, or really any noise, or different levels of noises, or different notes, all that kind of stuff is all kind of related to mercury toxicity. Gallbladder issues, being hypoglycemic, diabetic. I was both at one time, and it all went away. So, if it went away, then was I really diabetic? I had cholesterol issues, up and down, all over the board, out of nowhere for no reason, and then all of a sudden, my cholesterol's good. Made no sense. Same with blood work being out of whack. I know people I've talked to that one testing they have leukemia, another testing they don't. I'm not going to dig into that too much, but I tell these same people, are you sure, do you have amalgams? And a lot of them say yes, and I say, well, you might want to look into that, or at least realize that could be related. It's hard for people to accept that, but it's something to think about, and it could give an answer to why their blood work comes and goes. Okay. Abnormal EKG, I had that. I know people that have had pacemakers put in, and they're not even 30 years old. Really doesn't make any sense to me that could happen, although I'm sure it can. But these people also had amalgams. Okay. MTHFR, spelled that wrong. In other genetic variants, is something to definitely look into. It's very, very important to look into this. When people approach me, it's one of the first things I tell them to look into. And I'm getting down to the 15-minute point already. You can see how long this takes to talk about symptoms. So I will pick it up here for the next video. Keep an eye out for video number, I think, 3. Okay, great talking to you. Again, please like and comment the videos below. Subscribe, pass them around, help people, spread the word.